What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. ESPN has officially fired Shannon Sharpe after his $50 million lawsuit was settled. And I don't know if you guys remember the video that I made before when this all came out, but Shannon said that he was going to take some time away from ESPN and then come back later during the fall season to begin, uh, giving his commentary regarding this coming football season. And most people, myself included, said that most likely he would not, have that relationship once he stepped away from ESPN. But Shannon Sharpe, insisted that this was just a break. But let's go ahead and get into this article from USA Today. It says the Shannon Sharpe is out at ESPN after a settlement in the $50 million R lawsuit. Now, reportedly, she got allegedly $23 million. So she came up and she retired from OnlyFans off of that. The on-air relationship between ESPN and Shannon Sharpe appears to be over less than 2 weeks after the Pro Football Hall of Fame tight end and media commentator settled a $50 million lawsuit related to essay and battery accusations by an ex-girlfriend. The network decided to cut ties with Sharpe, according to the report from The Athletic, today, Wednesday, July 30th. Sharpe last appeared on ESPN in April, stepping away from the lawsuit after the lawsuit was initially filed, but he publicly denied the allegations, calling it a shakedown, and maintained his relationship with the accuser that it was 100% consensual. Sharpe said at the time he planned to return to ESPN's airwaves when the NFL training camps began ahead of the 2025 season. And I think that they've already started. I saw an interview with Jalen Hurts recently. So I believe that if they haven't started already, I know they'll start, the beginning of next month in August. The settlement in Sharpe's case came to light on July 18th when Tony Busby, the attorney for the woman identified as Jane Doe, although most people now know who she is because she's even come out and spoke about her relationship with Shannon and her, former career on OnlyFans. In the court filing, announced that the sides have reached a resolution and that the lawsuit will be dismissed. No details of the agreement were released. The woman accused Sharpe of SAing her twice in October of 2024 and January 2025 after previously engaging in the intentional infliction of emotional distress. She said that Sharpe became violent over the course of their relationship and recorded their intimate encounters, without her consent. Sharpe has never faced criminal charges in the matter. On April 20th, 2025, the Busby law firm filed a complaint in Nevada, making several allegations against Shannon Sharpe on behalf of our client. Both sides acknowledged a long-term consensual and tumultuous relationship. After protracted and respectful negotiations, I'm pleased to announce that we have reached a mutually agreed upon resolution. All matters have now been addressed, and the matter is now closed. The lawsuit will thus be dismissed with prejudice, which means that they can't relitigate the lawsuit. Sharpe, who's 57 years old, initially joined ESPN's First Take in 2023 for the twice weekly appearances alongside Stephen A. Smith after a long run debating Skip Bayless on FS1's show Undisputed. He retired from the NFL in May of 2004 after a 14-year career in which he won 3 Super Bowls and became the first tight end with more than 10,000 career receiving yards. He also appears on the podcast Club Shay Shay and Nightcap with former wide receiver Chad Ochocinco. They are produced and distributed by The Volume, a sports media company founded by FS1 star Colin Cowherd. So he doesn't even own his own podcast. I didn't know that. That he still has it tied up with FS1. Okay, so a few things, right? Um, it takes me back to the interviews that he did with Monique and Cat Williams. Monique tried to tell him She said, Shannon, first she said, I'm glad I'm not out here in my 50s and still trying. And he said, what are you trying to say? And she said, you need to find somebody age appropriate. She didn't say that, but, I'm paraphrasing, to get somebody to love you, right? And so, Shannon, he's like, oh, come on, Monique, come on, Monique. Okay, fine. He didn't want to listen to Monique. Most people don't, even though a lot of times what she says is the truth, they just might not like the messenger. However, Cat Williams came on there last year at the beginning. You guys remember at the beginning of 2024. And I mean, from start to finish. And I still think that that's one of the highest rated YouTube interviews of all time. I know it's Shannon Sharpe's Club Shay Shay's highest. But Cat said that, one, he's scared to date a certain demographic, even though this quote unquote Jane Doe, I believe she's a white identifying Latina. But Cat warned him, right? He said, you could be Kang the Conqueror, talking about Jonathan Majors. And he said, you caught on camera running down the street and your whole career could be gone in 2 weekends. And I'm telling you, if that was not the truth, not only was he telling the truth about Jonathan Majors and his girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend, I should say now, because I know he's with Megan Good, but Jonathan pretty much lost everything. And, Kat was telling the truth about Shannon Sharpe and his dating. I mean, he looked him up and down several times. And, of course, he was talking about what's done in the dark will come to light in regards to, Diddy and everybody that he named on the podcast. But I feel like Shannon had multiple people. And those are just the ones that were public, right? Not even to mention the people behind the scenes, warned him in regards to just not being an old fool, not thinking with your little head instead of your big head. Because not only did he drop this $100 million bag at ESPN, but he's also had to pay out that settlement. Like I said, allegedly it's supposed to be $23 million according to the blogs, but a multi-million-dollar settlement to a young lady who was on OnlyFans, and now she said that she's retired from OnlyFans. She never has to work another day in her life if she doesn't want to. And just thinking about how he even did his own daughter, during her wedding, that he was, trying to penny pinch her. He didn't give his daughter not even $1 million, and that's your blood. You know what I mean? And it's like Shannon Sharpe is just somebody who is a cautionary tale, in my opinion. Like, if one would think that to become a professional athlete, you have to have a certain level of discipline, right? And it doesn't just take physical discipline, that's very important, but it also takes, mental agility and mental discipline to get up every day, to watch what you eat, to, work out consistently, all of those things. One would think that if you got to this point in your life and in your career, because now he's 57, that you, one, wouldn't be chasing after, young women on OnlyFans. Two, that you would at least have them, sign an NDA or whatever the case may be. But three, that you would not be suffering so much financially this far along in your career. To have reached the pinnacle, he's won multiple Super Bowls and, broken records, and, with the Cat Williams interview on Club Shay Shay, that broke, internet records. And it's just like, for you to become and earn all this money, you don't think that there's going to be a target on your back? You don't think that there's going to be people gunning for you specifically? And you go after somebody on OnlyFans and you treat her and pay her out much more than your own child to help her for her wedding, that she's trying to do the right thing. You know what? I just, sometimes I think about like the baby boomers and their generation. And of course, I'm not, generalizing all, but many that I know in that generation around his age, they came up during a time where there was an economic surplus, from, like when Bill Clinton, and their parents, like the silent generation or whatever, like they had gone through, um, you know, when they were younger and kids or whatever, like the Great Depression, World War II, all these different things. So they knew how to, work hard, scrimp, save, etc. But the boomers were given so much, and they were born in a time where, like housing was affordable, college was affordable, all these things, but then they pulled up the ladder and stifled the growth of the generations behind them. And I saw that, with Shannon and how he treated his daughter, and even the boomers in my own family. You know what I mean? Like it's disappointing that they were standing on the shoulders of like the silent generation and those that came before them, who made it easier for them, the boomers. But then they made everything so much harder. And I'm not talking about just in our community, but just boomers, in government, and just, um, throughout the country, the legislators specifically, that they made things so much more difficult for people, um, that came after them. And I really truly believe that it's because they grew up with such, abundance, that they didn't have to work hard for. Not to say that they didn't work hard, but that they were born in just this very small, slither of history, that they came after people. My grandparents, for example, who got into the real estate game after leaving the Jim Crow South, but provided multiple houses to, like my family, my aunts and my mom and all that stuff. Um, but now the housing market is so unaffordable, and even in those red light districts, there's such value there. And so when I look at Shannon and just like how he moves, like he's earned all this money, but it's not just only about earning money. It's also about retaining, right, that money, being able to pass on the generational wealth. And it was so heartbreaking how he did his own daughter, when she was planning her wedding. You know what I mean? He told her that she should, serve spaghetti, and just like taking digs at her. And it's just like, I'm telling y'all, people reap what they sow. They don't think that they will, but you always do. You will always, it's a spiritual law. And I'm telling you, it is as powerful as the law of gravity, right? You have an apple in your hand, you drop it, or like, the apple fell out of the tree with Isaac Newton, whatever, the theory of the law of gravity, but it's going to hit the dirt, right? The ground has never lost a battle. And so we're spiritual beings. All of us has a soul. You cannot go out into the world and treat people any old type of way and think that it's not going to come back to you in some shape or form or fashion, because it always does. It always hits. The Buddhists, or other religions, they call it karma, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? That golden rule, doing to others as you would have them doing to you. Treat people the way that you want to be treated is so real, because if you don't, it's going to come back around. It's going to boomerang, and it's going to be 10 times, 100 times worse than what you might have thought, that you gave out. It's spiritual. It's a spiritual law. Anyway, I said all that to say, I don't know, like I said, if Shannon was trying to convince himself or everybody else that he was going to be back with ESPN, but I knew as soon as he took that break, you guys can look and watch my earlier videos if, you want to, see that and verify that. But we knew that once, he broke from ESPN, or they asked him to, excuse himself for that quote unquote break, that he wasn't coming back. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do everything you see everybody else do. It don't work like that, partner. And you should know that. Almost 60, knocking on 60. Come on, Shannon. You guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk with you in the next one. Take care, Aces. Bye.